KCOY 12 Central Coast News at 6.
When I was looking out and watching the water come down the street and rush into this garage, I thought, that looks like the Kern River running.
Flash flooding in parts of Cuyama. We speak to residents who had to think fast and are now left with the cleanup. And meet the new class of law enforcement officers. We talk to a graduate who's already been hired by the Santa Maria Police Department. KCOY 12 Central Coast News at 6 starts right now.
Live from the largest news team on the Central Coast with important local coverage. This is KCOY 12 Central Coast News at 6 o'clock.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Paula Lopez.
And I'm Scott Hennessy. Our top story at 6, the cleanup in Cuyama after a strong storm caused heavy flooding and left some homeowners with a big mess. KCOY 12's Corey James spoke with people who say they haven't seen a flash flood like this in years. Corey.
Scott, that storm was so strong and the flooding so powerful that this creek I'm sitting in, neighbors tell me just a couple days ago was completely covered with rocks. And as you can see, you can barely see the rocks. And just to put things in perspective for you, if I stick my shoe in the water, I'm not even touching the bottom, and it's just about covering my boot.
When I was looking out and watching the water come down the street and rush into this garage, I thought, that looks like the Kern River running.
But this was no river. It was Bell Drive, a road that Ann Clutter and her husband have lived on for 55 years. She tells me during that time she has only seen flooding like this once.
There was a flash flood up in the mountains, and it came down through those horse corrals across the road and washed horse manure and everything all around our house. It was nasty then.
Except not as nasty as this one, she says. Wednesday's rainwater flowing from the foothills flowed right into her Cuyama garage, covering the gravel floor with inches of mud and trapping the family's Harley Davidson in about a foot of dirt.
I said, oh my gosh, what are you going to do?
The flood affected this gas station too after Caltrans blocked off a portion of the road for safety. And Seth Bearcat says a few hours with no customers left him with a loss of money.
Between like gas and drink and like snacks for the customers, but I think like between 500 and 600.
As for the cleanup, Clutter says she just hopes her husband will do most of it.
Because he's just a worker. He loves to do things, but, well, I'm not sure he loves to clean, but...
And Ann Clutter says the last time that it flooded like this was in the 1980s here in Cuyama, and that gas station worker, Salem Bearcat, he tells me he just moved here from Syria about 8 months ago. He tells me what he saw yesterday was like a scene from a horror movie. Reporting live in Cuyama, New Cuyama, rather, Corey James, KCOY 12 Central Coast News.
Yeah, it looks like Ann's husband has quite a bit of cleanup to do. Corey, thank you.
He better get working there then. Winds and rain from that same wild storm blew through Kern County.
It's hailing.
Hail and high winds knocked over trees, and something happened you would never expect in the middle of a drought. Torrential rains flooded a home in Taft. Matt Rofkar said he wasn't around for the rain, but was shocked when he came back to find his Jeep and home under several feet of water.
It was actually about my waist deep when I first got home. Part of my house, my back of my house was all flooded. My backyard was flooded. My dogs were basically swimming.
This is cell phone video from Rofkar's neighbor. What it looked like at the height of the storm, a massive puddle also forming on Highway 119 near Franklin Field. The National Weather Service says more than half an inch of rain came down in just 15 minutes, quickly flooding parts of the neighborhood. Time now for our first check on the weather. Here now is KCOY 12 meteorologist Jason Stiff in the First Alert Weather Center. Jason, you're always warning us how fast that can happen.
Oh, it's amazing how quickly, especially when we've gone a long time without any wet weather, we can really get the flash flooding with those localized thunderstorms. But now, totally different situation. We're back to our normal June weather pattern as regularly scheduled. We have areas of rain and thunderstorms well off to our east and north, but for the Central Coast, we have fewer areas of rain-bearing clouds and more of the marine layer. Low clouds and fog pushing on shore, both for the Central Coast and the South Coast. As we look at future casts, we're expecting more of that to start your Friday. Even some high clouds starting to push in from the northeast tomorrow afternoon, but not giving us a good chance for any wet weather. Highs today range from the 70s and the 90s in these 6 locations, but in parts of the Central Coast, Morro Bay and Pismo Beach, we were in the upper 50s and lower 60s this afternoon. Tonight, more low clouds and fog with lows mainly in the mid to upper 50s and lower 60s. days. More details about your Friday forecast this weekend, next week, as well as the outlook for the upcoming El Nino coming up in just a few minutes.
Okay, Jason, thank you. Paso Robles just received nearly $1 million to hand out to its public schools to be used toward water conservation projects at 4 schools within the district. The district applied for the grant through the Drought Response Outreach Program for schools. That program is focused on projects that reduce stormwater pollution and water resource sustainability.
It is mixed news for Santa Barbara County when it comes to crime. New 2014 statistics from the Sheriff's Office shows a slight drop overall, but the most violent crimes are on the rise. Here are some of the results. Overall, crimes in the county have decreased by 9%, but there's been a 10% increase in violent crimes, a 12% decrease in property crimes. There's been an 8% increase in Part 2 crimes. Those crimes are related to sex offenses, drug violations, and weapons violations. The data shows Santa Barbara County continues to enjoy a generally low crime rate.
For the first time ever, 3 Santa Maria high schools held their graduation ceremonies on the same day. KCOY 12's Natalie Tavidian spent her day at all 3 of the ceremonies, and she is live for us in Santa Maria. Natalie.
It was graduation day in Santa Maria today. Students said their goodbye. I talked to many of them who called this a bittersweet day. Certainly there was a lot of energy in Santa Maria today. So about 1,500 students received their diplomas today. A lot of supporters filling the football fields, benches to cheer on their friends, their sons, their daughters. We saw some unique posters out there and a lot of emotions from the students.
What will you miss the most about high school?
All the friends that I made over the past 4 years.
Probably the sports and like the rallies and stuff like that. It's gonna be.
Any sport?
Yeah, I wrestled.
Oh my gosh, all the people. Honestly, I've made a lot of friends this year, and even like throughout the 4 years of high school.
So, heard the valedictorian at Rigetti High School said this day was all about the friends they made and that they will remember. Now, the district's continuing education school, Delta High School, had its graduation yesterday afternoon on the Orchid campus. And this makes the district's graduation numbers this year to more than 1,700 graduates. Live in Santa Maria, Natalie Tavidian, KCOY 12 Central Coast News.
Natalie, thank you. And meantime, there is more pomp and circumstance in Santa Maria today. Allan Hancock College held its Law Enforcement Academy graduation ceremony. The college's 108th class included 19 graduates, 16 of which have already been hired by law enforcement agencies right here on the Central Coast. Among those are 8 who will serve with the Santa Maria PD, 3 with the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Office, 2 with Pismo Beach PD, and 1 each for Lompoc, Cuesta College, and UCSB police departments.
The academy really is the very, very beginning stages. We're going to go from here on to the FTO program. So I'm excited that we have other SMPD recruits that we're going to be doing it together. So that should help out. And so we're all excited.
The keynote speaker was Lompoc Police Chief Pat Walsh, who told the recruits the job would change them, challenge them, and stretch them beyond what they think is even possible. But he also said it would be the best job they ever had.
From afar, they looked just like kids playing and enjoying their last days of school. But as you got up close, you could see these students from St. Mary of the Assumption in Santa Maria were busy cleaning up Armstrong Park. They walked from their school to the park at about 10 this morning and stayed busy for the next couple hours, cleaning up everything from empty pizza boxes to cigarette butts. The students say helping out with community service made them feel good. One student even had a strong message for litter bugs.
You shouldn't throw trash out here, especially cigarettes. If it goes into the ground, it's poisonous, and if animals eat it, it'll poison them too.
Teachers say the park cleanups are an annual tradition.
PG&E is holding its 3rd annual hiring fair tomorrow. The fair will be held in San Luis Obispo at the PG&E Education Center on Ontario Road. Representatives from the company will be there to talk about the available positions. The fair will start at 2:30 in the afternoon and run until 4:30. Then a second fair will take place starting at 5:30 and run until 7:30.
A unique piece of Goleta's history is about to be saved. The Barndall Rio Grande gas station dates back to the 1920s, but it's been closed, falling apart, and an eyesore for years. Businessman and Beanie Baby creator Ty Warner, who owns the site and the golf course near it, is donating the landmark station to the city of Goleta. That golf course is Sandpiper, to give you an idea of where this is. No firm plans are in place on what will happen with this building. Goleta city leaders say that they will ask local residents for input on what should happen to the landmark structure.
Atascadero makes history. We will meet the first ever female firefighter that was just hired as part of the team. Nia Wong has a full report for us.
And Nike has struck a major deal with the NBA. The company's famous swoosh will now be impossible to miss when you're watching pro hoops. That's coming up next.
Live, Paula Lopez, Scott Hennessy, meteorologist Jason Stiff, and Mike Clan Sports. KCOY 12 Central Coast Local News, live at 6.
The Atascadero Fire Department is bracing for a busy fire season. We know that. And to help out with the workload, they have hired some more help.
Their newest recruit is top of the class, full-time and a woman. KCOY 12's Nia Wong introduces you to the first female firefighter on staff in Atascadero.
I mean, it's absolutely true. When you find something that you love to do, it doesn't feel like you're working another day of your life.
For Colette Layton, she knew she found it 3 years ago on a ride-along with the Atascadero Fire Department.
Physical, it's challenging. There's no end to the amount of learning that you have to do.
Pulling her weight, there was no obstacle in Layton's way to land her dream job.
I was still working full-time for about 1.5 years, and during that time I got my training at Cuesta, got my EMT, and then straight into Fire Academy at Allan, Hancock, and that was a drive.
Last month, she climbed to the top of her firefighting class, beating out 15 other applicants for the position.
She did the work. She came out #1 on the test, actually #1 on all 3 pieces of the test.
Layton's passion for the fire service made her way into the city's history books.
We're thrilled to have Colette come on as our first full-time female firefighter.
Can't think of a better way to spend my time and devote my time, talents, and efforts than to serving people around me and to try and make my community better.
Reporting in Atascadero, Nia Wong, KCOY 12 Central Coast News.
Well, a new pest threat tonight. A quarantine is in effect in southern San Luis Obispo County after a single adult Asian citrusillid was found in a commercial citrus orchard. The pest can spread a plant disease that is fatal to all types of citrus trees. The new quarantine restricts the movement of nursery stock and citrus fruit to prevent the spread. This is the 3rd detection of the citrusillid in southern SLO County.
Let's see what is ahead in our weather forecast now. Jason Stiff back in our First Alert Weather Center. Jason?
It was nice to get a little bit of rain around our area the last couple of days. Not everyone received it, but we will always take it when we have it. Right now, in the lower elevations, lower altitudes, lots of clouds, a lot of beautiful sunshine above that as we look outside live from Tepisque. Currently 65 degrees after a high of 72 in Santa Maria. Now the cloud deck, the ceiling is down to 900 feet in Santa Maria, but above that, nothing but blue. It's down to 600 feet at Vandenberg Air Force Base and 1,400 feet around Lompoc. But we can see big changes all around the region with the temperatures. 57 degrees right now in Morro Bay, 67 in San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara, 86 after a high of 93 in Paso Robles. All the wind around the region, 15 miles an hour or less, and that will continue to weaken, but it's still very active from the Front Range of the Rockies in Colorado eastward and northward toward the Great Lakes. Lots of rain and thunderstorms along a stalled cold front there. We have one other low pressure over the Four Corners, bringing more areas of rain to the rest of the Four Corner states and the Great Basin. But the Central Coast is losing out on our chances for some wet weather. We have a ridge of high pressure to our west and another area of low pressure well to our north. And over the next 6 to 7 days, these two areas of low pressure and high pressure are going to be kind of battling together to a stalemate, and it's going to give us a more June-like weather pattern with more marine layer pushing on shore. We already had the low clouds and fog for both the Central Coast and the South Coast. A little bit more sunshine for the Central Valley. But as we look at future cast, no great chances for most of us tonight for nothing but areas of low clouds and fog. Increasing clouds tomorrow morning, and by tomorrow afternoon, a slight chance for some showers, mainly well to our east of Bakersfield, but also over the mountains of Ventura County. And then after that, once we get closer to Saturday, we resume the June gloom. Now, I want to show you this. The latest outlook for El Nino was released today, and it's looking better. A 90% chance for a strong El Nino through the autumn months and an 85% chance for the El Nino to continue through the winter months, which is really good news. It's not a guarantee, but we're looking for that. And our strongest El Nino years are really good for coastal California, 4 to 7 inches of additional rain, which is really good news for us. Now, looking at the outlooks, June, July, and August, not great for California. No clear indication for above, below, or average rainfall, but September through November, it's improving. Better chance for the Central Coast, certainly southeastern California, and those chances continue to get better as we move into the winter months too. So here's your forecast for the late springtime, moving into summer. Expecting a low tonight of 57 and a high of 73 in Santa Maria with a gray beginning to the day, but we'll still have some sunshine in the afternoon like today. San Luis Obispo, an overnight low of 55, a high tomorrow of 75, 93 hot degrees in Paso Robles. Today, the high in Morro Bay was only 59, and it was only 61 in Pismo Beach. We're going to be struggling just to get into the 60s tomorrow also. For the South Coast, expecting some more gray sky for the morning hours, but we'll have some more sunshine than the South Coast had this afternoon with highs in the upper 60s and lower 70s. Next 7 days in Santa Maria, we do expect a partly cloudy sky generally with that same June gloom pattern. Overnight lows will be in the 50s, highs in the lower to mid 70s. For San Luis Obispo, also lots of mid to upper 70s for highs, especially next week. A slow but sure warming trend for us with more morning fog, but afternoon sunshine. If you want the heat, areas around Paso Robles, that's where to go. 90s across the board, very close to 100 degrees for the middle 3 days of next week. And if you don't like all that heat, the 5 cities area is where you want to go. More 60s right across the board with a little bit more cloud cover, especially tomorrow, but afternoon sunshine too.
All right, Jason, thank you. When it comes to hoops, you can't escape the swoosh. Nike will become the exclusive provider of NBA uniforms starting in the 2017-18 season. As a bonus, Nike will also be allowed to have its logo, the swoosh, on the uniforms. The league's previous contract with Adidas did not allow the logo on player jerseys. The NBA contract adds to Nike's already massive collection of clothing deals with pro sports leagues, including the NFL and Major League Baseball.
Well, after nearly 200 days in space, astronauts from the International Space Station safely returned to Earth. More of the parachute landing and their mission up ahead.
And coming up in sports, Minnesota's Tory Hunter's having a yard sale. Everything must go. Wristbands, pads, shirts. Mike Clan will tell us all about this Tory tirade.
The Santa Barbara Foresters entered today's doubleheader, a perfect 7-0 to start the season. However, game 1 against Neptune Beach Pearl, and the Stars down 6-0 in the bottom of the 6th. But the Foresters showing life. Tulane's Jeremy Montalbano singles to right field. Ryan Chandler slides in safely to get Santa Barbara on the board. Later in the inning, Tyler Nesloni with a hard smash to the right side. He's thrown out at first base, but Montalbano scores to make it 6-2. But the Foresters suffer their first loss on the year. 7-4 is the final. Game 2 underway right now at UCSB. To the majors, where Oakland's Scott Kazmir was in style against Texas. He ended a personal 9-start winless streak with a sparkling effort versus the Rangers. The lefty allowed just 1 hit in 8 shutout innings. He struck out 6. The A's blew open the game with a 6-run 8th inning. Josh Reddick golfs that one up. 3-run homer to right center field. Oakland wins 7-0. San Diego and the Atlanta Braves not playing nicely together. The Padres' Matt Kemp not happy about being plumbed after slamming down the bat. He has words with Braves pitcher Julio Teheran. Benches would clear, no punches were thrown, but Kemp did go down as he got tangled up a bit with the umpire. As for the game, the Padres snap a 4-4 tie in the 11th inning. Yangervis Solarte singles in a pair, and San Diego leaves the ATL with a 6-4 victory. The Padres host the idle Dodgers tomorrow night. Back to last night for this gym in Minnesota, and it's a Tory tirade. Veteran Tory Hunter is rung up by umpire Mark Ripperger, and of course you can't argue balls and strikes, so Hunter is tossed, as is Twins manager Paul Molitor. But before Hunter goes, he's going to lighten his load. He litters the field with armbands and his pads. Then he's going to hit the showers and might as well lose the jersey as well. Fortunately, that's as far as he goes. Hunter and the Twins undressed by Kansas City 7-2. That's sports. We'll be right back.
There is our first video of the Soyuz under its main parachute.
After 199 days in space, 3 astronauts from the International Space Station returned safely to Earth, and it was a record-breaking mission.
The trio returned to Kazakhstan this morning. It had been delayed 4 weeks after the loss of an aircraft back in April. This group is made up of 1 American, 1 Russian, and an Italian one. It's always fun to see that fly out of the sky like that. Drop out.
Jason always points out to us when we can see the International Space Station
we all go
above
out and
us.
look if it's clear, Jason.
Yeah, definitely. This time of year, it's a lot tougher when we have the early evening or early morning passes over because we might be blocked by the low clouds and fog. Mother Nature, what are you doing to us? But anyway, tomorrow going to be one of those gray starts. A foggy start, but it's going to be a partly cloudy afternoon, and the highs will be slightly warmer than average, similar to where they were today. 70s, 80s, even more lower 90s for Paso Robles.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again at 11.
See you then. Have a great evening.